Hey, what's going on out there? I'm Sean Devine. Hope you all are doing well. It's been a minute. We're back with a new tutorial, and I'm excited to share one with you that's been extremely helpful to me thus far in my mixing and recording process. Before we dive in, I want to clarify, I know there's been some questions about how I go about kind of selecting what plugins and what content that I actually share on the channel. I don't share anything, I don't cover any plugins, products, or services that I don't actually use and that I don't find helpful in my own workflow. So I don't cover every plugin, I don't cover every product. I am an affiliate for some of these companies, which means if you click a link in the description and you purchase one of these tools, I may receive a small commission on that, and that's really helpful. But I don't have any obligation to cover the plugins or the products and services unless I really feel inspired by it, which is what this channel is all about, is sharing those things that have been helpful for me, that I've learned along the way, that I hope are going to be helpful for you too. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so how many of you out there are recording vocals and you're struggling with getting a lot of echoes and room and acoustic issues in your vocal recordings? Me too. I have a room that is treated a little bit, but I still have problems with a little bit of echo, a little bit of flutter. You can even hear it as I'm speaking. So the plugin we're looking at today is Clarity Vx DeReverb. And this is a plugin that is designed to utilize an AI-assisted neural network, which we'll talk about that. It's basically machine learning that will allow the plugin to identify these acoustic issues and these room issues in terms of unintended reverb space that we want to take out of our vocal. You all know the telltale sign of an unprofessional vocal is when you hear a lot of those echoes. It sounds like it was recorded in a bathroom. Once we get to the mix stage, there's just not much that we can do about that. It actually gets worse once you compress, once you EQ. It becomes a really big problem. I'm going to play back a mix that I did for a brother in Christ, Kenneth, here in just a minute. I would highly recommend wearing headphones or something that you can really trust in terms of a reference. It's just a lot easier to pick up on these reverb spaces if you're wearing headphones. So let's go ahead and play it back and we'll dive in here.
Now I'm on with the Lord, man. Only trend that I follow is the Lord, man. I'm in my own lane, doing my own thing. Engineer, but I came from the hood, man. Pray to God, still tapping on wood, man. Besides that, I've been really trying to maintain. 401k put me back in the game. $500,000 when they put me in the dirt, man. To help my kids when they going through the hurt, man. So they can come up with a plan, make it work.
All right, so you can hear the echo in the room. I'm not sure the exact space that this was recorded in. Maybe there's a little bit of treatment or maybe no treatment, but definitely can hear that. And this is actually post-processing. So you're going to see I didn't use a lot of plugins except an EQ and reverb and delay, which I have muted right now. It's because I ran it through the Neve hardware and compressed and EQ'd this. So that actually brought out that space. Let's check out Clarity Vx DeReverb. If we go ahead and turn that on, and I'm going to slowly turn this knob in the middle of the plugin. For those of you who are visually impaired, I'm just turning this knob to the right, slowly to 100%. So it starts at 0, and we're just turning the big knob in the middle to the right.
I'm in my own lane, doing my own thing. Engineer, but I came from the hood, man. Pray to God, still tapping on wood, man. Besides that, I've been really trying to maintain. 401k put me back in the game. $500,000 when they put me in the dirt, man. To help my kids when they going through the hurt, man. So they can come up with a plan, make it.
As we turn that knob to the right, we're hearing that that is effectively removing any of that room reverb and those acoustic issues. Now we are using the Dialogue 1 setting. Now let's just check out a few of the other ones just so that you can hear them. They have a bit different tone to them.
I'm in my own lane, doing my own thing. Engineer, but I came from the hood, man. Pray to God, still tapping on wood, man. Stay out the way, but I was.
For rap, I think Dialogue 1 is by far the best option in my test, and that's the one that I've been utilizing pretty much exclusively here. They also give us this presence control, which we can move from 0 to 100%. And what that's going to do is whenever we utilize the DeReverb algorithm, you might lose some of the brightness, some of the presence from the signal. And so we can just artificially add that back. Let's try to go back to Dialogue 1 and we'll adjust that.
I'm in my own lane, doing my own thing. Engineer, but I came from the hood, man. Pray to God, still tapping on wood, man. Besides that, I've been really trying to maintain. 401k put me back in the game. $500,000 when they put me in the dirt, man. They help my...
So I like it right at 50. That sounds effective to me. I'm not hearing a ton of presence that I'm really missing there.
Flip 10 by 10, that's 100 grand. Get together, talk about it, take a bigger chance. If you worrying about the risk, then you won't advance. Think about a pilot when he try to make a land. He consider time temperature before he land.
You know, it sounds like this was recorded in a professional vocal booth when we apply that, you know, rather than a lesser treated room. And then by the time we start doing our effects, it just sounds like a much cleaner and more professional signal. Let's take a listen to maybe a little bit more subtle example. This is just me recording it here in this position. Some of you might not pick up on some of the echoes and the flutter, even just as I'm talking right now. But when I'm recording next to my computer, it becomes very noticeable again once we start caking on compression and EQ. So let's see what DeReverb can do here with a more subtle example in terms of our recording. Mom praying over me and my brother an everyday struggle to keep God first and then want the worst for you. Just put up distractions, keeping you from taking action. But the passion... So you can hear a lot of echo behind me, kind of directionally with this signal, because I have a pretty large space over here on the other side. It's kind of just a general living area in my studio. And so it bounces off this wall. I don't have much treatment on the ceiling right now. And you can just hear that. And then once we compress it, it becomes very noticeable. Mom praying over me and my brother an everyday struggle to keep God first and then want the worst for you. Just put up distractions, keeping you from taking action. But the passion everlasting. Reaching within, we overcome sin. Can't do it alone. I find you on the other end. So I'm at about 90% and I added about 4% presence more to that. So 54% on the presence. And now let's go ahead and activate our Studio Rack chain. Boy from the South, hip hop in my blood, hope dreams first love. Mom praying over me and my brother an everyday struggle to keep God first and then want the worst for you. Just put up distractions, keeping you from taking action, but the passion never lasts. And then once we add our reverb signal and delay signal. Boy from the South, hip hop in my blood, hope dreams first love. Mom praying over me and my brother an everyday struggle to keep God first and then want the worst for you. Just put up distractions, keeping you from taking action, but the passion never lasting. For those of you who are doing spoken word or voiceover or podcast, anything where the vocal is in isolation, those reverb issues and room acoustic problems show themselves especially. So for example purposes, I set up my microphone in the garage while I was doing laundry and I recorded just a demo VO script. So let's take a listen to that with DeReverb inactive. Vehicle breakdowns can strike at any time. And if your car's warranty's expired, you're signed up for expensive repairs. A broken AC unit costs over $800. A transmission over $3,000. All right, so you get it. I have no acoustic treatment in my garage and it sounds like trash. So we're gonna slowly turn this to the right again with dialogue 1. Let's see what it does. Vehicle breakdowns can strike at any time. And if your car's warranty's expired, you're signed up for expensive repairs. A broken AC unit costs over $800. A transmission over $3,000. An engine over $4,000. Find out how you can put expensive auto repairs in your rearview mirror. Yeah, so with that, we've listened to some really extreme acoustic room issues, echo, flutter, and something kind of in between. And DeReverb does a fantastic job, even at 100%, of preserving the signal. I don't hear really any artifacts in that dialogue 1. If any, they're very, very subtle, but it's not changing it in a way that's unpleasant. And what it is removing, that is pretty amazing that it can do that. One thing I believe is important to note, and I know a lot of you are going to be curious about utilizing this in real time, like Waves Tune Real Time. This is a low latency plugin, so it is not real time, although you could use it. I'm going to show you when I activate this just in real time. Let's turn that on, and then I'm going to turn up the DeReverb. It is effective, and you can see it's removing stuff in low latency, which this is perfect for mixing and kind of post-processing. But even as I'm talking right now, it's throwing me off a little bit because there is a noticeable delay. The delay is about, says 2100 samples. So that's enough for me to tell. For those of you who may be looking at this going, well, can I just use it during recording? Not quite there yet. And a lot of that has to do with the very complex processes that are going on behind the scenes with the Waves neural networks. Hopefully this neural network processing will continue to become more efficient, because that would be a real game changer when you're talking about using this in real time while you're recording. But again, there's not enough delay for this to be any kind of problem for mixing. You know, you're not going to have a noticeable delay for just monitoring your mix or doing post-processing. I thought the original Clarity VX, which is more of a noise removal post-production tool, I thought that was cool, but I have been a big fan of the NS1, and so I just kind of stuck with that. But this DeReverb plugin does something that NS1 and none of the other noise suppressors in the Waves lineup can do. There are other plugins that do this reverb removal, but they sound very much artifacty or glitchy to me. I've tried a lot of the different ones. This is the first DeReverb plugin that I've tried that still sounds natural after you remove, even at 100%. It sounds perfectly usable for the mix. You know, my takeaways on this are, this is going to be indispensable for me in a lot of my mix work. A lot of my clients send me vocals that have, you know, these untreated acoustic issues, and this really makes it quite a breeze to tackle that before we start processing it with compression and EQ. That's just going to make that worse. So I've already been using this in my own sessions. I also am excited to use it here in my space, which, even though I have treatment, it's still less than perfect. You know, a lot of you out there probably need to dial in your space just a little bit more like me, and so this is a lot more affordable than you know, really decking out your space with a bunch of acoustic treatment. You can try this out for free. I would use it in your space with whatever acoustic issues you're dealing with to see how effectively it will treat it. Clarity Vx DeReverb is part of the Waves subscription service, but you can also just buy a perpetual license. Waves brought back perpetual licenses, thankfully, so you do have the option there, whichever you prefer. If you have any questions about Clarity Vx DeReverb, or you just want to share your experiences, let us know in the comments below. If you learned anything in the video, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing. Hit that notification bell for more, and we'll talk to you soon.